We're happy that you're here, and we have some really cool presentations and speakers today. First up, we have Lindsay Wood, and Lindsay is with Tiny Home Experience, um, and she's going to be presenting a video about herself. So Lindsay is a consultant and passionate about supporting people who want to go tiny and make a difference in their lives. So Lindsay, please take it away. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Teresa. I know you're behind that logo. I can see you. Awesome to be here, everyone. Thank you so much. Yep, this is our tiny home. How many of you, either in the chat, if you are video, not on video, or how many of you that are video, raise a hand that you may have seen tiny homes, either online, on TV, or in person. Anyone? Okay. Cool. And then any one of those people interested in actually living in a tiny home? Just curious to know. Like, does that, pique your interest at all? Okay, cool. All right, we got a yeses. We got Alejandra and Ursula. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So my husband and I, our quick story is we went tiny, or we had the epiphany to go tiny. Actually, our epiphany anniversary is coming up in August of 2017 is when we chose to go tiny after $108,000 in rent had been spent. And that's just the 7 years that I totaled it up with my husband. It's not of my life. Obviously, that would be far more. We decided that we no longer wanted to put our money into someone else's pocket or equity. We wanted some component of home ownership. Now, granted, if you don't own the land, there's still going to be some type of payout towards someone, either in trade or in money, to park our home somewhere. But the part of the home that we wanted to own it outright. We wanted it, make it our own and make it our own experience. So my husband and I chose to go tiny, and then we found a builder in a festival in Texas. And then within 6 months, that builder went bust in the middle of the build. Now, just to give you an idea, it's usually tiny homes are built, custom homes like this one, 33 foot, 300 square foot, take maybe at the most, 3 to 4 months. So ours took 6 months and still didn't finish our tiny home. So that really put us in a mode of going from custom build to surprise DIY. And right after we finished going DIY and finished our home, it took 8 months. We hit the road and went to about 12 festivals around the country, 6,000 miles. Usually tiny homes don't travel, but ours did. Now it's staying put in the Northern California area, still moving around. But I thought I would bring to you all a little video of our tour of the tiny home. You'll see many tiny home videos out there, but this is our video of our home. So I'm just going to share screen and let me know when you guys see that. Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to hit play. You guys see that? Is that good? Thumbs up.
Hi, Tiny Home fam. Happy Tiny Home Tuesday. Today I thought I would give you a tour of Sierra, our tiny home. This is Lindsay Wood. Thank you for tuning in to Experience Tiny Homes. And today is exciting because I really haven't done a tour of our home. There's lots of tours online, but this is our home. And this is what has inspired pretty much our life to live tiny, as well as our whole business, Experience Tiny Homes, helping other people realize their tiny home dreams. So let's take you on a tour. All right, right now we're in Ukiah, and we are sheltering in place, not in our tiny home, but in a home near here in my parents' house. And the reason why is that we can't live here on this.
Just so you know, I'm speeding it up because it is a 15-minute and I want to honor the time. So hopefully it's not too fast. Usually I tested it earlier. So here we go.
But we could park it here. And that means that we can actually do some work on our tiny home while we've been sheltering in place. One of the first things I want to point out is this is a gooseneck. This is towed by a Dodge Ram 110 dually. This is my friend John's lot. Thank you, John. He's kind of doing some remodeling of some trailers and stuff, and there's an RV, but this is a great place to have it parked so that we can do the necessary work we need to do while sheltering in place. And that is Zoe. our awesome travel dog, Rocket Dog Zoe. Hi, Zoe. And what we have under the gooseneck is our propane tanks for our hot water as well as our cooking. And this actually is our unit of batteries and inverter for our solar system, which is awesome at 100%. That is what gives us power pretty much all of the year, except for winter when it gets a little bit cloudy and rainy here, even in California. She's 13 feet 6 tall and 33 feet long from this point to the very back point. And we chose a gooseneck because we wanted to travel. For many people that don't actually need to travel, you can actually do a bumper pull where this whole portion is filled in. But what we like, because we are campers and we like to have outdoor gear, is this equipment or materials down here, plywood, is going to wrap around the outside of this gooseneck so that we can make it as a garage, which we're pretty excited about. And then this is the other side of our tiny home. That is a shower, like an RV shower. We just unlock the key and you can take an outside shower, which is really helpful for dirty doggies. This is our freshwater connection and our gray water out. Obviously, we're not really using it much right now. And the 50 amp plug, which can be adapted down all the way to a 30 amp and a 20 amp. We mostly use the 30 amp when we go to RV parks. And these are brand new trailer tires and axles. Our builder, they went bust and they gave us some bum trailer and axles. So we had to fix that day 2 of our travels, which is a big reason why we've turned towards consulting and helping people go tiny because of what we've learned. When we rescued our tiny home, it took us 8 months to finish our home. And we learned a whole bunch, including tires and axles and weight distribution and electricity and how tall hatches are, how to put in windows, how to siding, you name it. The list is long. Let's go inside. So we really wanted to center our home around the kitchen. My husband is a chef, and so we chose a big kitchen counter, which is a quartz counter. We love this quartz counter. Definitely adds weight to the home. So mostly tiny homes do not travel around. They probably locate themselves once or twice in their lifetime, but ours is definitely on the travel. So we've really put this to the test. This is about a 20,000 pound tiny home. So anyway, that's part of the weight. We opted to go with a stovetop instead of the full range because we wanted storage underneath for all of our equipment and pots and pans. And we really don't use an oven. And this oven works totally fine. We're not going to make a big turkey, but we really don't make big turkeys anyway. The best feature of this home, when you live with a husband who's a chef and you're living in a small space, is the fan. It's really quiet, but the fan is key, especially when you're using propane in a space. The fan and, I should say the vented hood, excuse me, and the fan. There we go. So that undermount sink is awesome. We love it. We normally have all of our seasonings mounted on our fridge with magnets, and that really helps things, stay tidy. And we usually have baskets up there, but you can see the little slim window. We love that light that comes through. And then over here is our loft, which I'll show you in a moment, but the ladder is one of the best features we love in our home. And I'll show you, it does fold up. And when we fold it up, we just lock it in place. And now there's the ladder tucked away. Of course, anyone upstairs, if that thing gets tucked away, they need help getting down. And the reason why we want to do that is that we take away the drum and put in the chairs here. And now we can pull up this big table. Okay, I'm going to show you, we have 4 different options. It can go like that and become a movie studio. It can also lift up the small one, and now we have a full-size table. Or when we drop the table down and lift up the tiny table, oops, let me go on the other side. Now what we've got is the ability, the thing's actually, here we go, locked. The little tiny table can pop up, okay? What we originally had planned for this area was a 6-foot awning window. However, that price tag was $5,000. So we opted with the smaller window that popped up. We will soon test the ability to sit on one side and the other side outside. But we did create a little nook because we shortened the window. It gave us an opportunity for me to have my little tchotchkes. With tiny homes, you don't really have a lot of tchotchkes, but in this one, I wanted to share the love, everyone. So we love all of the light that comes through our tiny home. The fact that it's painted white as well as the windows really give it that sense of like openness and size. Okay, so I'm gonna put down the ladder and take you up on a tour of our loft. So here's the loft bed. We love, love, love this bed. And what we're doing is a little bit of construction here because we've got some shelves, bookshelves that we're gonna be putting in here. And what this thing is pallet wood that has been burned using the Shusugiban method, a Japanese method of antiquing wood. So that is what it looks like. We really love the white. However, I think some texture also looks really great. And one of the best parts is it's relatively free, except for the nails, the fuel, and the linseed oil, you're pretty much talking free. And then it takes all of our books and puts them up here, and we've got more books than that. And then there is the room for 2. So I will take a look from above. That's the tiny home from above. And we've got a lot of space. That's one thing that everyone talks about is how big this feels because the ceiling is so tall. Many people talk about how it feels bigger than even their own home. And we're only 8.5 feet wide, 33 feet long, 300 square feet if you include the loft. So we'll take you into the bathroom. Voila. So this is a steam room shower bathtub combo unit. It actually closes doors like that, and you can steam it up and take a bath, and I love it. It even has speakers and a raindrop shower. I don't know if our system's on. No, it's water's off right now. But I love the raindrop shower. It looks quite techy and space agey, but man, let me tell you, it is a wonderful experience. So hi, this is my LED lit mirror. What I love about LED lights, if you notice, the light is coming at my face versus from above. And ladies, I don't know about you, but as you get older, I'm not a spring chicken, I'm a season chicken. And light coming at your face helps from any kind of shadows or shading. And what we also have is the separate toilet. This is a waterless urine diverting toilet. A lot of people want to call it a composting toilet. And I could probably do a whole video on just that. But what the deal is you sit down and it opens up the back. So you do your number 2 in the back and you pee in the front. And that's the little part there. And then they separate. And that is the key part. Then what do you do with the stuff that's in the back? You can either human manure compost it, throw it into landfill like a diaper bag, or continue. I mean, there's really the options: landfill or human manure composting. And if you want to know more about that, just type in human manure composting into Google. But that's really the situation with the composting. It cannot all happen in that little unit because you add to it every day. We hope so, if you're healthy. Okay, so back to the tour. There we go. Another view of the big area. We love our full-size fridge, and we did just wash it out. So it's great, big space going on. We just have it on because the solar is still running. And as we go up here, we love this. Eric made this cute little holder. We had a lot of people coming in and out of our tiny home, about 7,000 people, and we realized we needed a railing. So welcome to the boardroom meets the bedroom. Right now, it has a Murphy bed. However, that is changing. If anyone in California needs a Murphy bed, we are going to be selling this Murphy bed. That was my husband and I on our wedding day. And this is the crawl-in closet. Woohoo! Everyone sort of like has a pause on the crawling closet. People either love it or hate it. It is a bit of a workout to get into it, but we love it. We're agile little climbers, and that is our washer dryer combo back there. We don't do a lot of drying with that unit. It takes a lot of time because it's a 120 volt. So it's a really good washing machine, and then we zap it with energy and then dry our clothes. But as you can see, we have a lot of storage here, a lot of storage there, and even back wrapped around. However, what we realized with this Murphy bed is, one, we weren't sleeping in it. We were sleeping over there in the loft. And number 2, I wasn't able to use much storage. The whole storage is used up by the bed. It looks like a cabinet, but it's not. Right now it's locked because I locked it accidentally, but it does fold down into a full queen size bed, and it comes out to about where the rug is. So you've got like, maybe a foot to walk in. So 1, we're not using it, and 2, it has no storage. And so now we're going to shift gears, and that is an example of how wide the desk is going to be. And then that gives me that much room.
Okay, so I know I talk a little bit more about my tiny home and the room and all that. I wanted to bring it back for questions. And if anyone has any questions about going tiny, obviously tiny homes and sustainability and reducing waste are really critical, because the idea of building a 300 square foot tiny home is far less materials than building your standard American sized home is 2,500 square foot. So we're 12% of the average home. And yet in the realm of tiny homes, we're big as they come in terms of tiny homes that you may have seen. They really started out, my friend Jay Schaefer started tiny homes with 100, 150 square foot. But when I saw this version, 2 adults, dog, offices, bedroom, you name it, I wanted something that would allow us to, this is our only home. So that's a little story on that. And I'm open for questions if there's time.
So Lindsay, I have a question. Because I have looked into tiny homes. I have a friend who has about 40 acres up in Mountain Ranch. And we, even before COVID-19, we're like, we're going to start our own little community. Yes. And unfortunately, Mountain Ranch passed this ordinance that said no tiny homes. So do you run into that in California? And maybe what are some resources that folks could use to advocate to, change those bans?
Absolutely. So let me share with you guys my screen just because it's easiest to share it. Oops, let's escape out of that. And we'll just go. So I'm also on the board of the Tiny Home Industry Association. And what we just hosted was a legalized tiny home advocacy training. And this is an amazing training. Anyone that goes here and clicks on members, then, it's a long way of answering, like, to learn about advocacy, actually is the best person to teach it is this guy right here, Dan Fitzpatrick. What he did, so I don't know if everyone's familiar, at least in California, I realize we have people all over the world that have come on to this wonderful Race to Zero Waste Hour. But at least here in California, we have the accessory dwelling unit ordinance statewide, because we've had so much housing crisis and challenge, obviously, here in California, but doesn't mean that other places around the country don't have it. You know, Denver actually did pass the ADU ordinance, so did Boulder. There's some other places. So this is a really good place to go be a member for $25. And what you do, you get the access to the 2 trainings of advocacy training. And for example, let's type in legalize tiny in the search button. This is a pretty dense website with like all kinds of places all over the country. So for example, jurisdictions, which is what we call cities and counties, that are allowing movable tiny homes. So what I'm doing here in Sonoma County is actually working to get the ordinance amended to allow for movable tiny homes. The good news is, whether you're in California, which is going to be a little easier because we have the ADU already in place, versus other states. Where's what you said the place that you're thinking about is in California?
Okay. Yeah, it's in Mountain Ranch. It's between Stockton and Yosemite.
So the interesting thing about ADU, think about the little tiny home in the backyard, the cottage, the in-law connected to the single family home. It's also considered infill housing, density housing. Really good idea, because we've already got transportation lines, we've already got public transportation, utilities lined up, you name it. When we're talking about, I want to go take raw land and put a tiny home village there, awesome, but our practices and our culture, going all the way back to the worlds when they did redlining, where it was very much segregation, like Jim Crow days, right? Where let's segregate, let's, poor, people of color in this area. I mean, that whole thing was happening. That's actually illegal. However, zoning exists. And now you'll find trailer parks in certain areas. You might find them right along the freeway, right? Or in areas that are kind of marginalized, you're not going to find them where they would normally be, where they're going to expand and create suburbia. So the practice of zoning laws has very much been in support of single family housing. However, our world is changing. The millennials and the boomers make up the most of our population. And by 2030, 1 in 5 people will be above 65 years old. And that whole need for 3-bedroom home, nuclear family reality is changing. In addition, we've got the already existing housing crisis and now COVID and all that's happening in regards to that. So this is a great time to go and talk to elected officials. I'm actually hosting, once people actually go through that training program for advocacy, then I'm hosting a study hall in, let me just to show you guys, in the THEA member network. So once you're a member, then you can learn more about this, because what I'm about to share is more than just like what I can share in like 2 minutes, right? It's definitely a deeper dive into how you work on creating pocket neighborhoods, cottage clustering, tiny home villages, and also the ADU tiny homes and backyards. So hopefully that was a long way of answering that. And I do want to point out one thing for anyone that's really interested. I am hosting the Tiny Home Challenge starting next Tuesday for 5 days, 5 daily prompts, and really the important questions that you've got to answer. Why am I going tiny? How will I fund my tiny home? Who's going to build my tiny home? What will my tiny home look like? And where will I park it? So those should pretty much cover, and then I'll drop this link in the chat. And you guys are welcome to join us. I'm also hosting a Create Your Dream Tiny Home Masterclass on July 28th. People can learn more about that during the challenge as well. So welcome to the tiny home world.
Cool. Thanks, Lindsay. And we had one quick question in our chat. Do you have to pay property taxes on a tiny home?
In the world, okay, so in your example with regards to, a whole village, you're going to have your own units all put together and everyone's going to pay, much like a mobile home park or a trailer park, that kind of thing. However, with tiny homes in backyards, Oh, and I forgot to mention the places where they are currently legal: City of Fresno, City of Los Angeles, City of San Luis Obispo, City of San Jose, and County of Santa Clara. Soon the City of San Diego. So what existed as an ADU on foundation, which starts at about 200,000 usually, now you can go with a tiny home. And sorry, the biggest question a lot of people ask, this home is about $85,000 without the solar and water storage package. With it, it's about 100,000. Okay, so the difference of a home built on foundation, you know, is somewhere in the 100,000. You still have to run utility lines and all of that. So the question is really kind of more like what you want to do with a tiny home. Do you want to do multiple tiny homes, or do you want to do one in the backyard? In the backyard, your property tax is going to go with the home.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you,
Cool.
Lindsay. And